If you submit it to them, they own that particular submission.
I
So
thought you
if
had
you
to win.
no, it does not. No, they specifically you don't have to win. If you submit it, it's theirs.
Hey guys, we're back to Making Manga under the Saturday FM network, Saturday FM podcast, Making Manga. You have myself, White Manga Odunze, for those who don't know, the creator of After Black, writer and illustrator, and co-founder of Saturday AM, with my hosts.
My name is Jay Odin. I am the creator of Hammer, and I also am the artist on the Rick and Morty manga.
Yeah. And Raymond Brown, my creator of Bullet Eater, and co-founder of Saturday AM, My Footprint Entertainments. Happy to be up in here.
Yeah, we're just here as usual with a new installment here to all of us give a little inside story. Hopefully it helps any of you guys, whether it's just from an entertainment standpoint. You just like to hear Raymond talk about life, wise man carrying all them bodies. He knows what I'm talking about. And then give our experience and expertise when it comes to making this stuff, given that we've done it and we have books in stores and what it comes with and how to get there, all that stuff. So we'll also be accepting any questions that you guys have. You can leave them in the comments and we will address or even have it headline any of new future episodes of the podcast. So engage and we'll engage back. Eventually we're thinking of getting this stuff live so you guys would be able to engage in real time. I think that would be great. But for now, we're just doing the best we can. Everybody's busy. Trust me, we got some new announcements coming, and we'll talk about those when the time is right. And then when we have those opportunities, we'll expand. But eventually, as things get moved out of our plates, we will start to go live and just do more cool stuff for the podcast as we grow. And there'll be more podcasts coming, but I'll leave those to new stuff are on the horizon. Jay, you want to let people in on what today's topic is going to be about?
Yeah, so today's topic is going to be about self-publishing and traditional publishing and what that all entails, how difficult or easy it is compared to, who you are and, what resources you're using. And, I've had a few things that I've done self-publishing wise that, I could try to speak to. And, I know that Saturday AM before I even got on the team, they've, put out a lot of books and, there's a lot of different, overlapping, I guess processes on how that all works. So I'll talk about my experience and like how that all worked out. And you guys can, hop in, or if you guys, want to elaborate or anything, we'll go from there. But, on the self-publishing side, there's usually two things that you can do. You can do it digitally, which is something that I highly recommend, especially just because it's so expensive with getting it printed out, and it's just a lot easier to like just upload. And if somebody wants it and read it immediately, they can just download it off of your Gumroad or Shopify store or wherever. But you can also do what Saturday AM did, and a lot of other people do as well on KDP and have it be print to order. There's also a lot of other websites like Lulu.com, Kablam. I used that one before.
Print Ninja.
Yeah, there's so many different ones. But generally speaking, what it really takes is, my first piece of advice, if you're gonna try to get it printed out, is to definitely look at like what sizes they have before you start working on whatever you're about to work on, because I can't tell you how many times I've created something and then I had to stretch the pages out just so that way you could fit it, and it really just destroys the quality of like your page, what exactly how you want it to look. There's so many things, and not only that, but also you got to think about like the borders, word and text like getting cut off. Like there's just a lot of stuff that you gotta try to keep in mind. So my first piece of advice is, if you're gonna try to create something for print, especially KDP, definitely look at what options they have first, so that way you're not trying to fix all this on the back end. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
I know, Raymond, you know the horror stories. You know the horror stories because that's a very good point. It's like every publisher, whether it's traditional or self-publishing or whatever the case may be, low key, everyone kind of, there is like an industry standard that you can follow for, the dimensions and so those kind of things, and like how you set up your page, and you're making sure that the text is not too close to the edge because things get cut off. Like if you understand how that traditional comic book paper works, there's the leader A4, the leader B4, and all. Like if you understand what those markings mean, what parts you can draw on those parts, but technically those parts they're going to get cut off after print, right? So you don't want to spend too much time drawing some building that's going, or some explosion that's not going to show, or something like that. You have to understand some of those industry standards and how those pages work and what those guidelines mean. And there's several videos, even on my channel, that kind of touch on those a little bit. But every publisher low-key has their own thing. And self-publishing is not that different. If you know you're going to self-publish in the sense of, oh, you want this to be in print. Because technically you could self-publish digitally and that's it. And you can do whatever you want, right?
Exactly.
You can self-publish on all these websites, right? That kind of crowd, in a way, it's just hosted on those sites, right? You have that option. You can do it on your own website. You can do it on both if there isn't any exclusivity conflict or of some sort. So there is that. But we're talking about self-publishing where it's in print, right? It's like Jay said, it is good to know what printer you're going to use, how they work, how their pricing works, paper quality, how it's like, have an idea of it's going to look like in the end. Know what you're going to be capable of doing before you set things up, or at least you set things up in a way that is generally universal. That way, if it can be printed by almost anybody with limited issues, and there is a way to do that, and we figured that out after a lot of horror stories of
Late
like,
night.
because now Raymond and I, if we put a page, if we set up a page, which also still matches the industry standard, that means the industry was up onto something too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if you set up your page in a certain way, it kind of won't matter what printer you're going to be messing with. In some cases, right, unless the dimensions are like completely weird, it wouldn't even matter too much what the page size is going to be. It will just take in some cases, maybe it'll take like limited editing, pushing, expanding, whatever, and your page will be ready. And in some cases, you can even use Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint in a way that automates all the changes in like a push of a button.
Mm-hmm.
But um,
Yeah, I
you
love the batch.
yeah,
Batch update. Such a
batch
Whoa,
batch and
such a good
batch and
tool.
automate. Do you know, low key? I learned what those were when figuring this stuff out, because I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna do this for 200, 300 pages." And I can't. I think maybe it was even Ray who showed me. Somebody. I know I
Not
didn't
me.
just. Yeah.
I did mine the hard way. I did mine the Stone Age,
Yeah.
page by page way.
Yeah, I know I figured something out, because there's batch, there's automate, there's something where you can record like your actions
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint,
yeah,
right? That's why I even know any of that stuff.
yeah.
And so that way, sometimes you have to edit something on a page that once you realize, oh, this is a problem, then shoot, I have to change this on 200 more pages. Then you have to figure out a way to do that without losing your mind. Raymond, you want to talk about, I think eventually we can talk about, from a self-publishing standpoint, maybe some of the tips and tricks to watch out for, especially with Amazon KDP. But
Yeah.
you want to have anything to add?
I mean, I would say, you can disagree with me if you want, but like, I would say, if you can figure out KDP, you're gonna be okay,
Yeah.
because KDP is by far the most
Yeah.
like technical, involved, strict, digital platform out there by far. As a
Unless
matter of
it's
fact,
changed right now. Unless it's changed, they've changed the rules
yeah,
now. I don't know.
they might have made it a little easier, but I
Yeah.
mean, um, they're savage. They're savage. There's just so one thing I would say. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to the tips and tricks. But you need to know, like I said, the pluses of self publishing. You know, you get the flexibility of doing it your way. You don't have to worry about somebody on your back about anything. Once you do, get it approved and onto the market and all that stuff, you get most. I won't say all, but you'll get most of the money. That's a good thing. But some of the cons is that it is highly technical. It takes a lot of time, and you know, it takes a lot of time. It's very, very,
Yeah,
very technical, and
yeah,
I think one of the drawbacks was that because I think one of the hardest parts, was, if you remember, when we would make the fixes. Like you would submit it to Amazon. Amazon would shoot it back to us and say you need to fix this, 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 and this.
yeah,
So problem is that once you fix it and you turn it back in, it's not like they hit you back within like a few minutes. You got to wait an entire day to get
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
fixed
yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
that?
Sometimes like 48 hours.
Yeah, sometimes 2 days just to
Yeah,
tell them, "Oh, that's still not right," and then you got to wait
yeah,
another 2 days.
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so,
And,
so that's the only thing I really say. I'll add to it is that, like I said, if you can figure out KDP, I think you'll be fine with all the other ones.
yeah. I
KDP
think
puts
yeah,
you in a situation to win.
yeah, yeah. I do agree with that because the good thing with KDP though is you can always get them on the phone.
This is true. This is true. This is
You can
true.
I did not.
always get them on the phone.
And another a tip while we're talking about that, I just learned this the last time we tried this. Remember, well, I can't really talk about the project, but we tried this maybe about 2 years ago. And there are certain times of day that you will get the English or the UK KDP team, and then there's types of day where you'll get like somewhere else, like maybe India or somewhere like that. And
Hmm.
and when there's a language barrier, it makes it 10 times harder. They're not
Yeah,
understanding you. You're not understanding them. So
yeah.
there's certain times of day. I believe if you call in, business hours EST, you should be fine. But if you call in like, after hours, like maybe like 9 or 10 o'clock, you're probably going to get, or on the weekends, you're going to get routed to one of the
Call
other,
centers.
yeah, one of the other
Yeah,
call centers. So,
yeah. Maybe a call center where they're trained to say certain things. But yeah, the key things that I remember about KDP is that the key thing is a lot of the art stuff you can kind of get away with,
mhm,
but the words,
the words.
there is a live area in the page, and every out of they have multiple options for the page sizes and stuff like that. So that live area is different. And I have several videos that touch on like page setting, layout, and storyboards. But if you know what the live area is, right? There's if the page is this little square, it's kind of like a smaller square inside of it, and all the text needs to be inside that, including pagination of like, oh, if you want to have like page one, page two. Everything text wise needs to be in there because I think KDP is more suited. Last we toyed with it, is more suited for like novels, right? Not necessarily like comic stuff and art and all. It's more
Right.
suited for novels. So novels, the text is going to be there anyway. Like it's going to be in the live area. But if you're trying to do creative stuff with the text, you got to be careful. And then depending on who you talk to, because it's like sometimes it's a human being giving it a check. So sometimes they'll give it a okay, and you
Mhm.
go fix everything else, and then they'll come back and be like, all right, give me I fixed everything, and it's like, oh, you didn't fix this one. It's like, wait, the last person didn't tell me about this thing. So for instance, there's like maybe a sound effect, and the sound effect, even if it's hand drawn, it's not really text. So
Mhm.
one person is like, because they're all trained human beings to say whatever. So one person, they don't view it as text. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, go. But then you might get another person that's like, oh yeah, that's text. Change that, and it's like, whoa, that's like the whole artwork. Especially back then, you're working traditionally, and then
Right.
that's like it's flattened with everything. How am I going to move that? And then you have to redraw the whole thing. And you send that stuff to KDP, and
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Well,
think you touched on something too.
you got fingers crossed.
If you touch on something too, you want to avoid having flat anything. You always, if you can, if it's possible. I get sometimes, the pages you've done the pages a while ago and you don't have the files anymore.
Or
But if
you
you
work
can,
traditionally. Some
or
people
you work
just work
traditionally,
traditionally.
if you work traditionally, if you don't have anything else flat, make sure the words are layered.
Yeah, words and
You
balloons.
want
Yeah,
the art to be,
extra
but
large.
if you can at least get the words and the speech bubbles as layers, you're going to save yourself a bunch of grief.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
well, I
And
mean,
then,
on top of that, that's why I'm saying, definitely check what printer, because I mean, they usually will have templates, and if you're drawing digitally, you can use that template while you're drawing, and then it'll make it a lot easier when the time comes for you to try to
Oh
get that.
yeah,
If you're
yeah,
doing it traditionally, then yeah, good luck. Definitely
yeah,
scan it in and add the words as you go.
yeah.
But what were you
yeah,
saying?
Yeah, I was saying that that's a good point. Sometimes you can draw directly on that template, but then you have to make sure that that template that is exactly what you're going to do. You can't change your mind halfway because
Yep,
then that's what you're going to do. So I
exactly.
think the best is to have something that's a little bit universal, so that it's flexible, so you can print anywhere you want, and maybe you can even have multiple versions if it makes sense to do so. So the key thing, there's a lot that goes into it, and this is not like a drawing thing. So and maybe some of you are just listening, but there's a lot that goes into it. In fact, there's sometimes, if you remember, some panels, they can't be too close to the edge, even if it closes and it's on the page. Like some panels can't be too close to the edge, and there's a certain way you have to panel with the line and with the guidelines, and making sure
Yeah,
things don't get cut off. Remember, that's like something you tick on and off, whether you want bleeds or you don't want bleeds, and
yeah,
you want to make sure you tick on bleeds. So it's been a while. I would assume the KDP is better now, but there was
I think
another
the next
issue back
drive.
then. There was another issue back then, and maybe it's better now. I would hope so. But there was another issue where then, even when you have your files together, if your stuff is in color and it's like heavy memory, there was like a limit of like 400 megabytes.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a limit of 400 megabytes back then. So
Yeah,
there's
I
a
think it's up to a gig by now, but it's a limit though.
yeah. So there is a limit. So back then it was 400. I think maybe it's increased now. They
Mhm.
also had like it was easier to put it on Kindle.
Kindle, yeah. Oh, Kindle's not Kindle's easy.
Yeah,
Kindle's
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
And
It was
Kindle's
easy.
fast too. Kindle,
Yeah,
once if you decide to do it just Kindle only, you're talking, you could probably get your book up in maybe a couple of days as opposed
yeah,
to a
yeah.
couple of
So
weeks.
Kindle that way it will just be digital,
Yeah.
and I think there's like a Kindle app, Kindle Maker, comic maker app thing, and you can follow. You can. It's pretty self-explanatory how to do that. That one is not that crazy to figure out, but to have it in print, that was wild. And
Yeah.
the paper is okay. The paper is not the greatest. It's just
No.
okay. I remember the paper just being okay. I think maybe the good thing is this was a long time ago, so maybe they have better options now. They have all kinds of stuff now, but
Yeah,
it yeah
I'm sure
it
they've gotten better as the years have gone by.
yeah
Another thing to consider is that unless they changed it with KDP, you either have if you want to do color pages, you have to pay for a full colored book.
you have to
That was
pay.
the next thing I
Yeah.
was going to say. Yep.
Yeah, so like if you want, let's say manga, you may have your
Yeah,
first 3 pages in color, whatever. Even if
yeah,
it's only 3 pages in that whole book that's in color, you basically have to pay for the
yeah.
color version of it, and it's twice the price.
Oh,
Which, yeah,
that's a new thing.
It's been
no,
like
I think that's always been it like that. But I mean, just to piggyback off of that, when I was first, like before I got with Saturday AM, I had printed out 2 copies of Hammer. And volume one, I made it all black and white at first because I was like, all right, if I did this all in color, how much would it be? Well, first off, it was like 300 pages, which was ridiculous. Now that I know everything I know about like books, like it's crazy. It was like 300 pages for like the first arc, the entire Ocean Kingdom. And just to let you guys know who are listening to this, the Ocean Kingdom arc in Hammer is now 2 volumes. I had to split it up because like doing a 300-page book, it's not feasible.
Yeah,
Well, it's feasible, but like it's too expensive. But whatever, we'll get onto that later. However, when I first did Hammer, I wanted it to be in color. That was like the first idea that I had. And when I looked into it, it was like $21 to print it out. Meaning, if I wanted to make a profit at all, I would be selling it for like $25. Like, granted, this was Kablam. This wasn't KDP.
okay,
I mean, I
okay.
would assume that KDP is maybe slightly cheaper, but like not by much. Like, I mean,
not by much.
especially a 300-page book in full color, like that's insane. So, I mean, and like what Raymond was saying earlier, you're not going to get all the money. So, like for instance, I have a book up there right now, Chicken Fight, and it's like 300 something pages. It's all black and white, and I'm selling it right now for like roughly $15. But I get like $5 of that because of not only how big it is, but also like Amazon and like how they do everything that they do. So it really kind of depends on what exactly the content you're actually uploading to actually like see if you can get a large amount of money back from like every sale.
Right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, it just it's crazy. Like, so definitely try to think about that. If I did digitally, for instance, like I just get all that money. Like, especially if I'm selling it on my own shop or on my own website. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah,
What do you guys think about that?
yeah. I mean, that's why digital versions are obviously cheaper, right?
Yes.
And so you keep you get to decide with all these places inside, at least with KDP, you get to decide because you get to decide obviously the pricing, and that would affect what you get back in the royalties. I remember when I first did volume one of Apple Black in like 2014, and the price I set it to, because the color thing, the thing is, if one is in color, then you're probably gonna, if one page, if you want it to show in color, and the whole book then becomes color, because you can't. It's very difficult to like, oh, one page is in color and the rest of the book, they don't treat it that way. It's either the book is full color or it's not. And so
Yeah,
if it's going to be full color, usually then the book then automatically becomes more expensive if you want to make anything
that's right.
out of it. And that's why, even though I had some colored pages in those old versions of Apple Black, I just treated the book as black and white, and that way I was able to put it at the price. And the price was good because there was something called Create Space back then. Create Space, if people bought it off of Create Space, it was still tied to Amazon. It was almost like Amazon got like, you know how Amazon, you know how Bezos be moving, you just occupy everybody, just taking everybody.
He
So I
owns
think
all.
Create Space was low key on their own. So we're dealing with Create Space, right? And then it becomes KDP and stuff like that. Maybe I'm getting the history wrong, but it's very connected.
That's a long
But
time
if
since I heard that name. Create
Yeah,
space.
exactly, Create Space. So if people bought it on Create, if people bought Apple Black on Create Space, I can't remember what I priced it at the book at the time. I think maybe it was $12.99, and it was like 200 something pages. Eventually, I added to it because I did like a remastered ish version and just replaced the files. But at first, it was like 200 some pages. And if you bought it on CreateSpace, I got a higher royalty versus if you bought it on Amazon. And maybe the mindset was Amazon was more popular, so they want a bigger cut. But it was all connected. But on CreateSpace, each sale I made like $6 per book sale, and then on Amazon I think I would make like four. But that depends on how many. It depends on how many pages the book is, whether it's black and white, how much, like how you price it, and then you can play around with the royalties a little bit. Same thing for digital. So it's not like you pay up front, because that's what I thought you guys were saying. Because it's not like you pay up front with KDP or all these people. But if
That's one of the pros is that you don't have to pay up front with anything.
Yeah, you don't have to pay up front for anything. The only thing, even an ISBN number, and we can talk about that, you can get a free ISBN number. They'll give you a free ISBN number. And I think the ISBN number is, I forgot what it
It's
spells
actually
out
I
to.
don't think it's an ISB. It's I think it's an ASIN number.
No, I
So
think, isn't that for like the digital, like an ISBN number? They'll give you an ISBN number for your book.
they might, yeah.
Yeah, they'll get
I don't know
yeah,
how
the
far.
ASIN or whatever, even the ISBN for a digital. So
Yeah.
I've heard that one, what you just said before. It's a little unclear what it is. I can't remember, but I know with KDP they will give you you can either get your own ISBN number, right? Which stores and all these people, they can actually they prefer that. They can spot the difference
Mm-hmm.
when you have your own ISBN number and have a lot more control and flexibility of where your book can go, and you just seem more official, whatever. But KDP can give you a free ISBN number that you just have, but people like the stores, they can tell the difference, and they can know, this is some, they can start to little kid you a little bit, like, okay,
Like,
this
oh,
is
that's cute.
some,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
this is
a
cute.
little guy with a
But
little book.
one of the perks again from KDP back then is, even, and I had my own ISBN number, which Saturday AM kind of had it. But however you get it, KDP also offers distribution, expanded distribution. So
Yeah.
they can get it in stores. Doesn't mean it's going to end up in stores, but a
Right.
store could get it if it wanted to. Because some people send me pictures of the old Apple Black in like libraries, in a few stores here and there, but like very few. And that, in those days, like I could technically say, "Oh, I'm in stores," but it's like not really. It's like maybe two stores in the west of America or something like that.
Like if you
But
got your cousin go big Walmart to order a copy for you, they could.
maybe, yeah. So they technically could, but
Yeah.
it's very unlikely. as especially if it's a free ISBN number that you got from KDP. So you would it would be wise to kind of have your own ISBN number if you want to avoid that. But even then, it's still very difficult to get into stores, which we'll get into, which it's a little easier with more traditional publishing, where they have more connections to certain things, the connections that the publishers have built over the years, and so it's all networking and connections that you don't have as an independent person, and so you have to kind of find your own way to build that hype and promote your stuff and make noise in the industry for them to take note. And even when they take note, then they want to redo your book, have a new version of it. Because there's some publishers that if the book has been published, they're not going to do it. Then it's done.
Right.
They might, if you're a big name or author, they might want you to do something. They might want you to do something completely new, right? But that particular project is done. So that's like extra perk for the fact that Saturday AM we're able to do what we did is unheard of and on many levels because we did have some books published, and so it was not just mine. I think we did for a couple other series within Saturday AM, and I remember Raymond, if we sometimes we'll be looking at people's stuff, especially as it runs in the magazine, and we can already see the headaches if we had to convert it. It was like, oh man, that panel right there, yeah, they're gonna flag us for that. Oh, this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they would definitely have to remaster it for print version. I know we did that with Titan King, and we did that for a few other series. And this is obviously before
Remember
the book.
The time we even had to do a book backwards?
Oh yeah, Z Forever.
Yeah,
I remember
Z
that
Forever.
book.
Yeah.
So we had to game the system.
That was our top stuff.
Yeah, we had to game the system because Z Forever was read from right to left, and so we had to like pretend like, okay, I know this front cover looks like a back, but just stay with us for a second.
We were back and forth with all those customer service reps.
Woo!
Oh my god! I think they just let the book go through just to get us
to leave us. Yo, let me see. I'm trying to see if that book is still is it still up there?
Do I have that book? I think I have all of the books that you guys did except for that one. That's a bummer, man. Because I remember that was like one of the ones.
We joke about.
Well, no, see. If you go on Amazon right now, there's Z Forever. Shoot, it's out of print.
Out of print.
It's out of print. No, well, it says out of print, but limited availability. So it's like
that's just somebody probably used copies.
Yeah, used copies. So you might still be able to get it. But you know how you go to a page and you go to a comic and it shows you the cover of the book and the results, right? For Z Forever Volume 1, it shows you the back of the book.
It just was wrong. It wasn't supposed to be done. It really wasn't. It really wasn't.
It shows you.
But you know, that's the funny part about Z Forever. Like, we would joke, like, Z Forever was like Saturday M's like Hunter x Hunter because, like, I swear, what was the creator's name?
Mark Reed.
Mark Reed would do some chapters and then disappear for like a year, right?
Yeah.
And come back and everybody and like people like, where's Z Forever? Where's Z Forever? And he'd come back and people would show up. So it was kind of like that was one of the reasons we even entertained doing it because people just really loved Z Forever. It was crazy.
Yeah, he had a cool Final Fantasy night style kind of. I don't know if anybody's like searching this up, you'll be able to see it. So I think go ahead.
His last issue was like my second issue. Okay. It was like something like that.
Yeah, you missed that. You missed that phase.
Yeah,
just there. You missed that phase.
I'm telling you, he might even be able to come back now. So, Mark, if you're listening, man, hey, make your comeback. Togashi, man.
Do a reboot. A reboot.
I'm telling you. Look, just pick up where you left off. People still show up. Z Forever. What?
Nah. That whole right to left. No.
Oh yeah, no. You definitely got to fix that. Bro.
No, you gotta reboot. Just reboot, bro.
Yeah, just
reboot, bro. Let's reboot. This is not is Z for it'll be B A Z. You go back to A forever.
A forever. Yeah.
It's A forever, bro, or Z forever Z. I don't know what you do, but you gotta reboot.
Z. Wow.
Z forever Z. But yeah, go ahead, Jay.
No. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say so there were a lot of people. Spoon. Did we make a Spoon book?
Yeah, we made a Spoon book.
Yeah, I think we made a Spoon book. So
I remember
there
there
was some
was
We
a
people.
had a bunch
digital.
of pages, like because when we was making the Spoon book, shoot, I think David was already on like chapter like 50 or something. Like
Yeah,
he was up there.
Spoon. They talk about the longest running series in App and Saturday AM is Loki Spoon.
It is. It is. Because I forget what chapter he's on now. I forget what chapter he's on, but he's up there. He's up there.
They're like 70 something. I think like
Yeah.
he's pretty up there.
Yeah,
But
Spoon.
what
Yeah,
I was
Spoon is like one of those series that when you look at Shonen Jump and there's like a manga that just never gets canceled and it's just
Yeah.
there and it's always been there.
Yeah.
That's
It's our,
Spoon.
it's our I don't know what that manga's called, but with the police officer, y'all know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
was
about.
it Kame? What is it?
I
Kochi
don't know
comedy.
something that
Yeah,
I,
Kotsukame. Yeah, yeah.
okay, yeah. Like yeah, it's been there
That
forever.
that that's our Spoon. That's Spoon for us. And David
Well,
is cool, man.
well, the last two things I was gonna say about self publishing, I mean, I think you already addressed one of them. But the last thing I was gonna say was in regards to like marketing and how to get found. Because I mean, especially if you're going to use KDP, it's all about the keywords. I remember when I was doing our book, the Jailed One Shots with Raymond. I remember we were on the phone a bunch of times and we were just saying, okay, what are some good keywords? And we were just going off the dome. But there's a lot of people that do a lot of research. They'll pay like certain subscriptions and certain websites. You can use AI now. I mean, there's
It's a
it's
science.
all about the keywords,
Yeah.
especially if it's like what you want. I remember what Raymond was saying a while ago was what you want is to get into a category that is not necessarily like doesn't have a lot of competition, for instance.
Right.
So like if you were going to get
About
into well, you can elaborate, right? You just say what you have to say.
No, I was just agreeing with y'all. No, it's a fine balance because it's like a scale. You got popularity and you got competition. If it's maxed out on competition and popularity, you're not gonna get seen. You're just not gonna get seen. But if it's the other direction where it's not popular, it's wide open. You'll get seen all day, but nobody cares about the category. So you got to find a need. You got to find the middle ground of a category that fits your book that's also popular and then you're competing for the keywords that like if like a keyword for example might be manga. That is a very highly competitive keyword. If you use it, you're gonna be fighting everybody. But if you can like narrow it down to say romance manga, that helps. You still fight a lot of people, but not as many people as you fight in manga. So it's just about it's a whole science to it. I mean, I can't get into it now, but they act like to Jay's point. They have programs and AI and things like that to help you generate the AI because at this point it's I don't think you can do it off the dome. Like
It's
because
so sad.
you can't possibly think of the correct keywords, and you can't think of enough of them because a lot of these books are using thousands of keywords. And it's like coming up with five of them is tough. To be real,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
yeah. Those days. I remember putting in the keywords, putting all the metadata, putting it in the right categories, and also Amazon, obviously at that time, and it was less. There was less. There was still a lot of competition back then, but it was much easier back then to like. Because I remember you put out Apple Black, and almost all the books that we put out, it would be like number one best new release, at
Mm-hmm.
least for that first week, for that for that or for the early days, and even to this day, you can still see your Amazon rank for the books for where you rank in the category and where you rank overall, right? And so if you want to know your book is doing good is when you're consistently at least for a decent amount of time because books get published all the time. Amazon has like
Every
over
2 minutes,
close to
they said.
50 million books
Yeah, there's
on
new.
there
Yeah,
and
there's new book every 2 minutes.
more books are coming. So you're
Yeah.
technically competing with all of the books,
Yes.
and so you're ranked against all the books. And so the safe place to be, and I'm talking Harry Potter and all the books, right? So the safe place to be is like when the rankings, I would say, is anything above 50K, and if
Mm-hmm.
you can just stay there constantly. So it's a combination of sales, is a combination of profit, right? So like how much if the book is expensive and is selling a lot, let's say a book is $100, $100 book, and you
Mm-hmm.
sell 10. That book, if that book sells 10, and then there's like a $1 book but that $1 book sells 20, the $100 book is going to take it,
Yeah.
right? And even though it's sold technically less, so there is a weird science to the ranking. Nobody fully knows exactly, but I know that these are all factors with the traffic to that the page gets, the page where people can actually buy it, the sales, the profits, and then maybe a few other things. And so, but those are the main ones, and then they'll show your ranking, and you kind of want to be 50% to see how well you're doing. I guess if you care about the ranking and stuff, it's 50K and above. If you can stay there, that's good. After a long time, 100K, 200K. But if you want to know if a book is doing really well, like you go to some books and some books is like 2,000. I'm like,
Yeah, look, it's a great exercise too,
out
because
of 50 million books on Amazon, you know?
well, you can. It's actually a cool exercise you can do if you go on KDP, because you know how the internet be internet sometimes, and people claim that, oh man, I'm sold out of my book. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it just came out and I'm completely sold out. You can call them
Yeah,
out on that. You can go to their Amazon page and look at their ranking. If you see
yeah,
them down
yeah,
in the millions,
yeah. A
they ain't
lot,
selling,
yeah.
not selling out, like they may have sold out to family and friends, but they ain't selling out like
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So,
Everything else that.
sometimes, some people maybe they're selling out the copies that they have. Let's say they go to a
Right,
convention, maybe they go to a convention. Technically they can claim that, they sold out because they got rid of all the books that they took to the convention, right?
right.
But if the book is available in a public place, because some people don't have their books on Amazon, some people don't
It's
have their
true.
books because Amazon, again, part of that expanded distribution. There's also digital distribution. So if the book is on Amazon, it's going to be digitally on Barnes and Noble too. It's going to be it's going to be on a host of places. And so the ranking for Amazon is solely focused on who's buying it on Amazon. So if they were playing devil's advocate, Raymond, they'd be like, oh yeah, it's 2 million, but that's because everybody buys it on Barnes and Noble.
Right.
Nobody buys it on Amazon. We're boycotting Amazon.
All right. Okay.
Amazon boycotting Amazon. What are you talking about? You're just
But
a hater.
you
You're just
brought
a
up a good
hater,
point
Raymond.
though.
You're just
You
a
brought
hater,
up
Raymond.
I am a hater. I mean that's it's kind of in my blood. It's just you know. But
Yeah,
I mean, you brought up a good point though, because like that's a whole nother hustle too. Like, and not to take a dump on it, but like, so there's another strategy is conventions, because it's gonna be work regardless. I'm telling you, self publishing is work, a lot of work.
yeah,
But I will say that there's a hustle of what these companies will let you do is they'll let you buy author copies,
yeah,
so
yeah.
for a
For a
fraction of
cheaper
the
price.
price.
Yeah,
For a fraction of the
KDP
price.
does that. KDP does
Yeah,
that.
KDP does that. So whereas your book might cost $14.99 or $12.99 or whatever it may to everybody else, or whatever price you set it for, you can get it for like $2, right? And you can order those for yourself, get you like 50, 100, 200, however many you have. Go to a convention. See if you can get into a comic book shop. See if you can go to these different places to straight up like sell it out your back trunk. Like
Yeah, basically do it manually.
do it
Yeah.
manually. And there's a lot of margin in that. It's not the sexy, oh, I'm selling my books online in my sleep, in my drawers. It's not that.
I
But
do I do like that. I
yeah.
do like that because you don't have to deal with you don't with self-publishing print on demand. You don't
Right.
have to because that is what it sounds like. Print on demand.
That's
It's like
exactly what it is.
basically they only make it if somebody buys it, that's when it gets made.
Right.
Sometimes something like Amazon, if they see like a lot of people are buying it, they'll kind of buy a couple and they'll make a couple and keep. But technically, it's print on demand, meaning that it's only getting made if somebody pays for it. And this way, you can bypass a lot of Kickstarter stuff. You don't
That's
have to
right.
do any of that. And then as long as you can make it. For sometimes some people still do a Kickstarter if they want to kind of be paid to make it, or maybe they're an author and they want to pay an artist or something for whatever your
Yeah.
reason is.
Covered like the cost of the production.
Yeah, 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 whatever the case may be. But then one of the perks of print on demand is that you don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
If somebody didn't get their shipping, if that's not you, that's Amazon.
Amazon.
You know what I mean? So there's a
And
lot of perks,
there's
but
a lot
you
of
can
perks.
still do it manually and say if you want to sell it on your website, then you can do what Raymond is suggesting, where you can buy a lot of author copies and sell it however you want to sell it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was gonna say about if you want to get the most bang for your buck, definitely get author copies because then you can if you buy it for $2, but you sell it for 10, that's an $8 profit right there. So I mean, that's definitely
You pay for
something.
shipping though, right?
That's
So
still
what?
shipping. That's
Yeah, you
shipping.
pay
But
like
if
you
I
can get
remember
a you
with
can get
shipping, if you order the shipping is I ain't gonna say it's flat, but like I mean, you know, if you're gonna order some, order a bunch. Like you know, if you got the money,
yeah.
go ahead and order a bunch because the shipping is going to be minimal if you
Yeah,
get more.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know we did this at one of the with Anime NYC was like
Yeah, man,
2017.
NYC.
We had like a lot of books there. We're selling with prints and stuff like that. I think that was at the time I think our best con,
Yeah,
and it's similar things to what we did. But yeah, Jay, you were saying something.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I really think that if you are trying to do it, um, not the print on demand way, like obviously, I would still say keep that open because you never know who's going to be looking for your book online. But
I'll do
if you
both.
are going to conventions or you have a lot of partnerships with the stores around you or even a library around you, I mean, definitely get a lot of author copies and sell them so that way you can make a profit. Yeah, I really think that that's a really good idea. But I do remember my last thing. I was actually going to bring this up. This is always a question that gets brought up to me, and I want to know what you guys think about this. Somebody always asks me, I have a story in my mind. I really want to put this out, but how do I copyright it? I want people to know that this is mine. I don't want anybody to, take this idea. So, what do you guys have to say about that?
With the copyright stuff, and I'll love to hear what you guys think too, because obviously you can. I remember one time I talked to a lawyer about that too, but you can copyright the. It's much more difficult to just copyright your story idea. I think you can copyright the book or copyright something that contains everything, right? And then you trademark the logo, but then you can copyright the basically if you have like 10 volumes you kind of have to do a copyright for each volume or at some point collect them all and do a copyright for that. So copywriting is it's a way to the way if you don't get anything out of this you get this. The way I view it is that it's a way to protect yourself, right? Obviously, but you're already automatically protected, right? Is just a extra barrier. But as you know, even though sometimes when you copyright stuff, you can still get cooked in some ways with some technicality of yada yada yada. But it's just an extra barrier of protection. But you are automatically protected once you create it. And then you have the extra bonus of if you're for those who are afraid of putting anything out there, when you do put it out there, there's a timestamp. There's a timestamp that yes, I did. You know how many times they've said, "Oh, like I'm so happy, like my like Ryuzaki Ruby's out, Sano's out, they've been out. So if somebody comes and says, "Oh, this is this," like if you, I've actually not watched JJK, and then maybe this could be the trendy topic thing, right? But and I think at some other point we'll have maybe another video that's focused solely on copyright. So make sure you guys subscribe. If you guys enjoy the videos, leave comments again. But one thing I know about, I think I've seen the first 7 episodes of JJK at this point. Only the first 7. But domain expansion is very, very similar to Nirvana. Like very, very similar. And it's much more easy. JJK is pretty much finished. It's much easier for somebody that Shonen Jump in Japan, well funded, do whatever, chapter after chapter after chapter. Like there's no even now, even though I did Nirvana first, if anybody sees Nirvana now, they're gonna go, "Oh, domain expansion," right? But if there was like a legal issue of some court, I have proof that hold on, not that there will ever. I don't think there will be. Like people's stuff gets inspired by whatever, so I doubt there'll be an issue. But if it was an issue, there's a timestamp. So anytime I make a video and I say something, sometimes maybe the product is not even out, but maybe I'm talking about a character and what they can do. That video has a date and all of that, and so when I create it, it's already protected. But now it's also time stamped, so to show when I did it. If you keep your stuff and no, there isn't any time stamp at all, and maybe it stays in your head, you didn't even write anything down, and then somebody does something similar, and they copyright it, or in fact, maybe they don't even copy, they don't even need to, and they put it out before you do because you're too afraid to put it out there, then you might still be able to fight it, but they have more weapons against you that you have nothing because you're hiding it in the box. Because you can't claim that they copied it. How did they see it? So there are some times where trying to protect it and keep it to yourself might bite you in the ass. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people do have very similar ideas. Sometimes coincidences do happen. So it's a complicated thing. You can do it, especially if you have a book out. You put out a book, you can go copyright that book. It's more difficult to copyright, let's say, a whole story that doesn't even exist yet. But you can copyright that book, or you can copyright a bunch of books together. You can copyright a gallery of those books together, or something like that. It's not that easy, but the best way is to talk to a lawyer. As you can see, we're not, none of us are, but there is a, you can copyright it, and it does give you an extra layer of protection, but you're not as protected as you think. And it's not that, and you are more protected than you think when you just put it out there. And that's
100%.
and that's
Yeah,
my take on it. That's my take on
yeah.
it.
I'll talk after Raymond. You have something to say?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, a lot of it's lawyer mumbo jumbo. I mean, technically, I mean, the simple answer is you can just go to the copyright website to go. I think it's copyright.gov or something like that,
Yeah,
and indicate a copyright. It's that simple. Now, when you do that, they're going to ask you for a few things, and they're going to ask you like I'm trying to remember because I've done it once before. I went through the process. They're going to. I think they want your ISBN numbers.
yeah,
They want a lot of specific details, so it can't just be like just a kind of thought in your head. It has to be something that has legs to it.
something tangible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something tangible. And then another aspect to think about is too that even if somebody did, quote unquote, if you decided that you're gonna get somebody for a copyright infringement, let's not like pretend like it's gonna be free. You know what I mean? There's going to be lawyers involved. There's going to be this, that, and so you really got to pick your battle on that. My thing would be on it. Like I said, I'm not not even going to try to pretend to be a lawyer on it. But my thing is that I think when people ask that, they're putting the cart before the horse. Because when you're new to this, there's nothing to steal yet. Because to White's point, you know, you may have an idea, but until that idea is something that's put out into the into the media or whatever over and over and over again until it becomes something with legs, there's nothing really to copyright. You know what I mean? Like domain expansion is such a big cultural phenomenon that any anime fan can tell you what it means or what it's tied to. So that's copyrightable, right? You know what I mean? Versus you're out, for even Nirvana. Nirvana was one of those things where it's in Apple Black heavily, but it's not like the main thing. Like the Jujutsu Kaisen did it. Like Jujutsu Kaisen is built off of domain expansion, whereas Apple Black is just a feature. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but
So far, so
so
far.
far, yeah, so far. But yeah, I would just say, when you're a new creator, don't worry about that stuff. Just get your stuff out there. You know, people not gonna steal your stuff.
Yeah,
And to White's point, every time you post something on Instagram with your idea, it has a timestamp sitting right there. So if
Yep.
you
yeah,
absolutely had to go back and call somebody and fact check somebody, pull up the Instagram post.
yeah. Listen to Raymond. Nobody will ever steal your stuff ever,
They're not stealing your
ever.
stuff.
They'll
No, they
never
won't never.
they'll never steal your stuff. If they steal your stuff, you're probably in somebody's domain expansion where they
You're
steal
just
it.
like,
You're not.
yes,
You're not.
that's true.
It's not actually happening, right?
But
It's
well,
a
talk about,
genjutsu.
well, let's talk about it though. Like, have you guys had the experience either yourselves or somebody else like literally stealing your stuff
I've
and
Yeah, I've seen stuff where it's like it's really close.
really? I've seen stuff where it's really close with your stuff.
I've seen
I've
yeah,
seen
yeah,
stuff
yeah. I've seen
really close.
stuff that's it's like mad close. Like it's
Like,
one of those where if I was like super established. Now to be fair, I just gave the domain expansion and the Nirvana example as examples, right? But if you think about it, right, and like I said, a lot of this stuff has been done before.
yeah,
Automatically, that's similar to a lot of the Sharingan stuff and Genjutsu
yeah.
stuff. That's already similar to a lot of Bankai stuff, depending on the character and Bleach. It's already like a lot of this stuff to some degree has done the originality comes in the execution. So I'm not saying that domain expansion and Nirvana are the same. They're
Well,
from what I
hold on,
gathered,
hold on.
they're not even the same.
Let me react to my question. In the early days, when you first got started, I'm saying, like now,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
Apple Black
I'll
is
get to
15 years old. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I'll get to answering
yeah,
your question.
yeah,
I'm just clearing that part up because I'm not
yeah,
even I'm not accusing anything. I'm not like because stuff does like I said in this world in this realm especially a lot of stuff has been done already. It has
yeah,
more to do with your execution. So I'm not
execution.
even like offended or anything like that, right?
Yeah,
It's like you know what I mean? Because that's a whole other conversation. But there are other instances that I've seen where I look at the character and I'm like, damn, that's close. That's close. So I'm usually like happy at least that it's like, okay, they might accuse me because I'm the smaller one compared to whoever this person is, right? But again, I have my timestamps, I have my whatever, nobody can say I have my videos where I'm talking about it, videos
yeah,
where I'm designing it in real
right.
time. Like I'm kind of good because there was a I don't know if you've seen this one. I don't know if you all saw it. There was this Fortnite character that got a redesign and it just straight up looks like a Rotis, like almost completely, except maybe it will have a gun or whatever. But it looks like a Rotis almost completely. Tony Valenti has a character that also looks hella like a Rotis, right? And we
Yeah,
talked about
that's
we
one that's
talked
showing up
about it.
right now.
What do you say?
Right? That's one that's showing the jump right now. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There was something
right.
showing a jump, and then there have been things that have come close. And I remember even Tony when Tony saw it because he did Apple Black fan art at some point, right? And when Tony saw the character for the first, he was like, "Damn!" It's like the Spider Man meme. I was like, "Wait, what?" So sometimes stuff happens, but there are times where it cuts close. Like the one that you guys are referencing now, the recent thing is Shonen Jump that I think is actually finishing soon,
yeah. I think it's
right?
ending early.
Yeah, that one came a little close with the color scheme of the character, hair color, the arm. I was like, damn, that's close, right? But obviously, then there are other things that set it apart, right?
Right, right.
Because when I actually read the chapter, there are things that are similar, even like remind me a little bit of wands and stuff like that. But there's still a lot about the story that is just that's not Apple Black. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's them doing their own thing. So
Yeah.
a lot of these like I haven't seen one that made me pissed off. Let me put it like that.
Mhm.
Right? And I haven't seen where I haven't seen one where I'm like, oh, this person definitely copied me. Right? And maybe these people did see my stuff and were inspired. I don't know, but a lot of people will rule that could easily try and rule that out because we're not like super popular. But it's very possible because it's much easier to take from the stuff that nobody knows versus some super famous thing. But either way, nothing has been offended because I've been inspired by other series to do things that are similar to other series as well, if that makes sense. So I've never been offended, but I just know that this is very close to where some people will call because I didn't even call it out. There's other people that were calling it out, right? And I also know that another thing that can happen is when it's so close, I could get accused of stuff. But the good thing is I can go, oh no, sir. I did Ruby. Ruby came out in 2012. Bakugo came out when?
Okay.
So, but then it's also still a dumb argument because that character archetype has kind of existed with a few differences in execution, but the character type has kind of existed since the beginning of a loud, angry, spiky haired character. Do you know how many of those there are? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. To that point, I remember the guy that created Toriko, Mitsutoshi Shimabukuro. He created a hammer like comic, a guy who had like a magical hammer. Like he would go around, he was like on Hammerland or something like that. Somebody messaged me about that a long time ago when it came out, and I was like, "Well, I mean, I can see why you would bring this up to me, but he's not changing his hands into a hammer. Like this has
Yeah.
nothing to do with my series at all. But I
Yeah,
mean, all I was gonna say was I totally agree with what both of you guys were saying. If you can, I remember I think Fred said this. Whenever you post it on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, like they're technically publishing what you're posting. So like you said, there's a timestamp. Like, and the more you do it, the more it's going to be correlated to your name. And if anything were to happen, obviously you would have something to point at, like, hey, this is what I did. But on top of all of that, everything that Raymond said, putting the cart before the horse. I mean, yes, if you're a beginning artist, if you're about to just start your series and you're worried about that, don't be worried about that. Like that's you're not like thinking about your story right now. You're thinking about something that doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things at the moment. In the future it might, definitely if you can get to that point where you're like Harry Potter level, famous, and then you might be wanting to think about, copywriting everything and all that. All that. But I mean, if you're just starting out, you're like, hey, I really want to do a webtoon, but before I put it on webtoons, I want to copyright this because I don't want webtoons to have control over my entire series. It's like, well, first off, you're a rude awakening. But on top of all of that, I mean, it's just crazy to like, try to think about all of that right now. So don't let that stop you from actually doing what you want to do.
I'll tell you another thing too. It's kind of off topic, but I think it's still in the same vein. But be careful with these contests. These different Shonen Jump contests. It's not summer manga. We don't do this. Creators already retain their rights.
Everybody in Saturday AM owns
everybody
their own property.
Owns their
don't
property.
let anybody lie to you. Everybody owns their own stuff. There may be a dispute between individuals, like a writer and an artist or something like that. But that's between them.
Yep.
The company does not own. Everybody is correct. Jay, do you own Hammer?
I do.
Raymond, do you own?
Own Bleeder.
Raymond J, who owns Clock Striker? Is it Saturday AM or Fred?
Soccer.
Oh,
I mean, it's Fred and Osaka. But I mean, technically, that is, Fred is Saturday AM. So I mean,
but do you see? But do you see the distinction?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Do you see the distinction? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So who owns Apple Black? It's me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Always have, always will.
Okay.
But to my point, what I was going to say is be careful. You enter these contests because they do have fine print that says
if you win.
Particular submission.
If you win.
No, you don't have to win. No,
you don't have to win.
You don't have to win. If you submit it to them, a lot of them. I know Shonen Jump's like this. If you submit it to them, they own that particular submission.
I thought you had to win.
No, it does not. No, they specifically. You don't have to win. If you submit it, it's theirs.
Really?
Yes.
I need to check that. I'm not sure.
Did they change the rules? Because I remember entering those contests and like I said, it's not around anymore. But the N Plus forms like that. That Shonen Jump what they had years ago was like that, where if you submit it, it's theirs. It's theirs. Yeah. So just again, whether I'm right or wrong, do your due diligence. Make sure you read all that fine print in there, because last thing you want to do is turn around and submit your story to one of these contests. 10 years later, you actually start to get some heat to your comic, and they come knocking. Hey, that's ours.
and you want to be talking about like. You want to be talking about copyright stuff like that. Let's say somebody did steal your stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Are you ready for that battle?
Financially, emotionally, mentally. Are you ready?
Are you ready for that battle?
Are you ready? Because it's gonna be a fight.
So it's like you start to be thinking like, my story's not even that good, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? You got it.
You can have it though. You can have it, dog. It's all good. Yeah, it's not even that. Like, I didn't even know what I was writing in chapter 2.
Right.
It's all good, bro.
That's right.
You can have it. You can keep it.
I think what just kind of came to me. So I might be out of pocket here, but like, I think what protects you more than a copyright is consistency.
100%.
Taking your story and just doing it over and over and over, and just keep making content, add new chapters, add new characters, all these different things. Because think about it, how would you, if you were new to making Apple Black, how would you know what the ripoff is? How would anybody know? Because you got no history. You don't have history to prove that what makes Apple Black, or what makes Hammer, or what makes Bully. You got to have the history so you can even, hold a candle to somebody trying to steal your artwork.
Yeah. So that's does that answer the copyright dispute?
I mean, hopefully it does to a lot of people that still have that lingering question in their mind. But In regards to traditional publishing, I mean, we've already been talking for about an hour, mainly about self-publishing. But any quick thoughts? Because I have one, which is basically just listen to whoever's about to publish your book. Like they'll give you a template. They'll tell you, this is, the debt. Like, I mean, we can talk about deadlines
Yeah,
and
maybe
authors.
we keep the traditional publishing to an episode of
Another
yeah,
another.
another episode of his own. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
because there's a lot they can say to that. There's a lot that goes into it, and then how the misconceptions of how that's perceived when it comes to promoting the
definitely.
stuff, and then we can also talk about royalties and advances and what
Advance is big.
earning out actually means, and
Yep.
how that ties into translations and how that's tied to that goes like who deals with translations and how actually works. There's a lot
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
traditional publishing.
What happens when your book does get into Barnes and Nobles and Walmart?
Yeah,
That's a
or like, oh,
whole.
it's like what could happen for the right and what could happen wrong, and some
Mhm.
things that they seem like a blessing, but it's not always a blessing. It depends. Everything is a blessing if you're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's
You know what
100%.
I mean? So I think the traditional stuff we can also think about it even more because you don't want to forget stuff. But I think maybe you join us next time on Dragon Ball Z as we talk as we break down the traditional publishing and what the pros and cons of that entails.
Well, with that said, I guess we'll be ending soon, but I do want to say at the time of this recording, Saturday Wars has actually been published. So definitely go get this book. This book is awesome. You can actually
Traditionally
read
published.
chapters on our website right now. It's super cool. I finally finished it, and I know that I think Raymond was in the call with me. I'm not sure if White has recorded that particular talk, but it was Raymond, me, Fred, Morgan,
Oh yeah.
Oscar, and I think Austin. And we all had this long conversation talking about Saturday Wars, and it was really, really fun. So definitely keep an eye out for that video. It should be coming up soon. If you guys have any questions about, Saturday Wars, or where you can get it, or any questions about what we were talking about, please put it in the comments down below. On your way out, please like and subscribe to the channel. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. And my name is Jay Odin. If you guys have anything to say, I'll let you say what you need to say.
It's White Manga, and thank you guys for joining. Hopefully, you enjoyed the chat. A link to purchase Saturday Wars will be in the description, so you can always get it there, and it's available anywhere manga is sold. Enjoy it. It's the first of its kind, a bunch of series with that Japanese approach to telling comics coming together, just like a Secret Wars, Infinity Wars, and stuff like that. And it's all this stuff, and it's you can imagine the different art styles. There's a reason it's not a common thing in a lot of stuff in Japan, and it's like rarely done. But we try to do something unique for you guys. This book has been in the making in certain ways for an eternity. But I think
8 years.
I think we've figured out a formula. So the next time we even do this book, it would be even grander and better. So I hope, hopefully, you guys enjoy it. And yeah, Jit Ray.
Yeah. Get the book. Get the book.
Yeah, you know what? I just realized.
What?
Both of you is like, both of you are Ray J.
Or what?
Both of you are Ray J.
Ray J. Oh yeah. I'm definitely Ray J. I'm definitely trying to push some Ray Cons, aka Saturday Wars.
Yeah. This is Ray J. Ray J right here. I know. Yeah, I know. If you see, Jay was like, "Wait, what?"
Ray J. What are you talking about?
Nah, man. But you know what would be kind of fun though, man. I really do hope people pick up the book because what would be cool is if you guys leave like comments and questions about it, not spoiler stuff, but we can
Like
talk
theories.
about it. Like maybe we can have like a spoiler-free version. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
something that we can talk about.
maybe. Yeah, you can leave in a comment. Maybe we can go live.
Yeah.
Depending on how things go live, just similar to the video that's upcoming, and talk about it. But like, you know how they say, oh, some reads theories. I don't know, just throw some theories out there, or
Yeah.
thoughts, or whatever the case may be. But the point is, get it.
Get it so
Yep.
we can talk about it.
Very
We'd
fun book.
we'd have so much fun.